Wonderful, we are live. So for those of you who are watching the recording of this after the fact has already happened, I am planning on putting timestamps for every question or every significant highlight throughout this live stream. And I'm planning on going back in all my live streams and doing the same for each one and doing that for the future live streams as well. I'm also planning on at least trying my best to schedule these live streams for 8 p.m. Central Time every Sunday. That way more people can actually plan to make it to this live stream and ask questions. So without further ado, I see there's a couple people that have just recently joined. Feel free to ask your questions down in the comments right now and I will answer them live. Meanwhile, I'm going to actually share this to my Facebook, even though Facebook does a really good job of not sharing statuses about other websites. Like they basically shadow ban people. Their algorithm prevents posts about YouTube videos and stuff like that from being shown on people's news feed or whatever. So if I post that I'm going live, even my friends that have see first on Facebook tend to not see them, which is ridiculous. But I'm going to post this on Facebook anyway. So ask me your questions, you all. Also keep in mind, I actually am offering consultations for $20 an hour. So if you're interested in nutrition, health, fitness, consultations, supplementation, and the nitty-gritty details of all of these different things, definitely shoot me a DM on Instagram at Wolfgang Lozana, or you can send me an email, wolfganglozana@gmail.com, and you can request consultations through that matter. So I'm going to share this on Facebook, you guys. Ask your questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to start blurbing on about random stuff. So let's see here. Sharing this on Facebook. Let's see here. All right. That thumbnail is gnarly. Let's see. Okay. All right, you guys, come on, ask me your questions. I know you guys are dying to dying to know something. All right, so let's see. Currently I'm drinking some delicious, what is this? Pu'er tea, heavily aged. And these are just little mini cakes of pu'er, and it's actually relatively good. I'm just gonna brew this over the next couple of hours or so while I do this live stream and drink it slowly. So, the Korvac, such a powerful username. The Korvac. I don't know what a Korvac is. Isn't a Korvac like it's a vacuum cleaner, isn't it? So, or is that your last name? Anyway, do you think turmeric has any health benefits? Do I think turmeric has any health benefits? So the fact of the matter is turmeric is actually a double-edged sword, and there's actually a multitude of things to consider when we talk about turmeric and its effects on human physiology. The first thing about turmeric is that it does seem to act through pretty much the same exact pathways of as an anti-inflammatory, so the same pathways as aspirin, if I remember correctly, and other anti-inflammatory, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And that's the first thing. And that can actually create the same side effects as other drugs of the same class. At least that's what a lot of people are suggesting and a lot of people are afraid of. The second thing is, I'm sure most people already know that essentially curcumin seems to have a hormetic effect. Basically, it induces free radical damage, which upregulates our own endogenous production of antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase in response to the damage that curcumin is doing or has done. And so through that pathway, it can actually upregulate antioxidants endogenously at the very least for about 2 hours after ingestion, I think, is the standard time for most antioxidants that have been studied. I saw that to be true with green tea extract in one intervention trial. So glutathione synthesis, superoxide dismutase, and basically creating a hormetic effect in that respect. Also, there are so traditionally it was used in combination with milk thistle as a kind of like a liver support type of herb. Do I believe that that's something that we should take with, heavy weight? Not necessarily. I think if you're having liver issues, it requires a more specialized and individualized approach. And I don't think just taking a curcumin supplement or a turmeric supplement can help. What about for pain? Well, there's a lot of people that take turmeric or use turmeric, especially externally, like on the skin or in the mouth, for inflammation on the skin externally. And there's a lot of people that take it for chronic pain internally as well. So it seems to be pretty effective as an anti-inflammatory or as a painkiller, essentially. And there's plenty of studies that show pretty good evidence that turmeric does seem to be effective for neutralizing pain. But I'd be very skeptical about these people that promote curcumin and turmeric as some kind of miracle substance. And basically, like, they almost make people motivated to just like down teaspoons of turmeric at a time. And I'll admit, when I first was looking into turmeric way back in 2015, when I first started getting into health and nutrition and stuff like that, before I really understood science and how science worked, I was one of those people. I had hypochondria. I thought that I had cancer. It was hilarious. And obviously, when you think you have cancer, what do? You search for natural remedies on Google, and I found turmeric has what is the word? Apoptosis. It induces apoptosis in cancer cells in a petri dish, right? And cell cultures. So what did I do? Well, I poured myself a half a liter of water. Alkaline water, of course, because the body is electric, as Dr. Sebi says, which obviously I don't believe in Dr. Sebi's nonsense, but at the time I did. So alkaline water with like a whole tablespoon of turmeric. And it was so horrible. It was so horrible. It was disgusting. Obviously, I didn't have cancer. And the turmeric definitely didn't really serve me much benefit. In fact, I think turmeric might actually, if you take too much of it with meals, I believe turmeric might actually hinder stomach acid production. But I'll tell you, the most fascinating benefit of turmeric is actually its ability, or the evidence that I've seen that seems to help to boost brain-derived neurotropic factor. That might be something you want to look into. That's something that I really love, something I really appreciate. And it also seems to have antidepressant effects that seem to be pretty substantial. I think a lot of people that see some of these trials involving turmeric having an antidepressant effect, I think they focus too much on inflammation, and they claim that the reason why turmeric can have an antidepressant effect is because depression is a disease caused by inflammation in the brain. And turmeric is an anti-inflammatory, and so it can decrease brain inflammation, which decreases depression. And to that, I honestly would say, first of all, that is a far stretch. We don't know conclusively, although it is plausible. But I believe, just like most herbs that seem to have antidepressant effects, especially functional foods, polyphenols and some of these alkaloids in some of these plants tend to increase dopamine. They tend to have varying effects on serotonin and various serotonin receptors and dopamine transmission, as well as, a lot of them decreasing cortisol or increasing the conversion of tyrosine and its cofactors into dopamine and norepinephrine rather than cortisol and adrenaline, which, if you've seen my video discussing the catecholamine cascade, then you'd probably understand what I'm talking about. But in regards to turmeric, I believe that it just has direct antidepressant effects through brain-derived neurotrophic factor and possibly through anti-inflammation. But those would be the main effects. Is this Nate Diaz in the comments, you guys? Yeah, so do I have a job? Yes, I have a job. As a matter of fact, I hardly have any time at all to do these videos anymore because I'm so busy. I work as a personal trainer, also a security guard, but mostly as a trainer throughout the week. Monday through Friday, I work 6 hours a day training people at a commercial gym. And I also do strength and conditioning for athletes. I do health and nutrition consultations. And then to make some extra money on the side, I'll pick up security jobs. But I also train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai pretty much full time, approximately 3 to 4 hours, 4 to 5 times a week, give or take, as well as strength and conditioning in the morning. And no, I don't pay my parents rent. My mother at the moment is doing very well, though, I will say. She's been an entrepreneur since, 2004? And let me see here. And so as to where I'm doing the video, you creeper, you want to know where I'm doing the video? It's in my own apartment in the living room, which is absolutely a mess. So I definitely have my own place, but I suck at cleaning. And generally, when I have enough energy to cultivate my game, I generally have whatever girls I'm dating at the time clean my house for me. Although, I don't know, I think after my last relationship, I need to learn how to clean my own fucking place. But anyway, that's the way shit goes. So let's see. Thank you, Nick Diaz, for being a fan. Your first fight against Connor was epic. Your fight against fucking Carlos Condit, GSP, and especially Anderson Silva sucked dick. That was Nick Diaz, not Nate Diaz. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, my house is a mess because I don't have girls right now to help me clean it up. And it's weird how, well, I'm not going to go too much into detail on the girls that clean my house or would clean my house or should clean my house or shouldn't clean my house, really. I should be able to clean my own house. So anyway, the core back. Would you say cayenne pepper is beneficial? So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. I've been on this nightshade thing for a while, on and off. So pu'er tea is amazing. If you ever want to get tea drunk, drink pu'er tea. So cayenne pepper. I love cayenne pepper. I always have loved cayenne pepper. And most spicy peppers in general, I've always loved and I'm addicted to them. I've been eating spicy peppers, my mother claims, since I was not even able to walk. My mom has these stories she likes to tell her friends, her old ass friends. Nah, yeah, whatever. My mom likes to tell her friends about how when I was like, I don't know, like 6 months old, we were at a Mexican restaurant, and right in front of the waiter's eyes, I chugged a whole thing of hot sauce. This is what she claims. I think it was a red hot sauce, not the salsa verde, and it freaked the waiter out. And all through my life, I freaked my parents out with my pepper eating habits. Anyway, I've always loved spicy peppers. They're amazing. So some of the benefits of spicy peppers in general, which definitely pertains to cayenne. So cayenne pepper is amazing. I've used it a lot for decongestion. Like, so if you ever have, stuffy nose, coronavirus, if you have, congestion in your throat, mucus is lodged up there and hard, what you do is you can drink cayenne pepper tea. You can make a soup. You can make a soup with cayenne pepper. You can make a stir fry and add more cayenne pepper, but preferably like a soup or some kind of liquid. Brew the cayenne pepper in there. And it sounds insane, but you do it when you're sick because when you drink that, all your mucus is going to come out. Absolutely, it will drain your body. It will drain your sinuses of mucus. Let's see. Yeah, and so that's the first thing. Decongesting your body or your sinuses from mucus, not your body. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you eat these spicy foods, absolutely they produce endorphins. And cayenne pepper is one of the easiest. Just take a fourth of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And keep in mind, there's different types. There's different types of different levels of heat with cayenne pepper. You have the 40,000 IUs of heat units, or however they measure that, 40,000. Then you have the 90,000, and then you have the 120,000 version of cayenne pepper. So again, look that up. And I think the 120,000 might not actually be cayenne, but it's labeled as cayenne. And I've tried all of them, but obviously I've been doing spicy foods for so long that I graduated to 90,000 pretty quickly. And I used to throw cayenne pepper in everything. As a matter of fact, I used to throw turmeric and cayenne pepper with black pepper in everything. And there are other spices I would use on a regular basis too. The biggest, most beneficial aspect of cayenne pepper, besides its own unique properties for healing ulcers, stomach ulcers, is that it can boost your circulation. Like, that's huge. So it can boost your circulation. Typically, when I would eat meals with cayenne pepper, I would have gigantic erections that were just random as hell. And it felt like it was just because I ate a satisfying meal. It can increase your digestive juices, which can actually improve digestion for meals, especially if you believe you have like hindered digestion for whatever reason. Cayenne pepper is a great way to get those digestive juices flowing. I used to actually take a little mixture before meals back when I was vegan, because I had such horrible digestive problems caused by all those fibrous grains. Basically, I would mix a half a teaspoon of ginger, a half a teaspoon of cayenne, and then there was like a half a teaspoon of some other crazy spicy spice, and I would put it in a thing of room temperature water, a cup of room temperature water, with about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, raw and pasteurized with the mother. I take that about 10 minutes before eating, and my God, first of all, that will clear out my sinuses real quick. Second of all, I notice an immediate boost, obviously, in my body temperature. It increases the perspiration where you're sweating like crazy. Blood circulation is amazing. It helps you breathe, like it opens up your airways. It could be, and then obviously, if you eat 10 minutes later, your digestion is primed to digest whatever crazy foods that you choose to shove down your throat. Now, I don't think whole grains are a good idea, no matter what, unless, of course, you soak them and sprout them, stuff like that. But I'll tell you that the cayenne pepper works wonders on digestion as kind of like a pre-digestion tonic. And if you have trouble with your appetite, cayenne pepper can definitely increase that. Consuming cayenne pepper with foods eventually will make you crave more of those foods. That's what I found. Scientifically, I would say the circulation benefits, the endorphin benefits, those have been scientifically validated. It does have quite a lot of evidence for neutralizing H. pylori and stomach ulcers, if I'm not mistaken. But the big thing you got to worry about when it comes to cayenne pepper is nightshade vegetables can definitely trigger arthritis, aches, and pains in many people. And I have noticed that with myself, unfortunately, which is why I don't take ashwagandha right now. I'd be taking a whole lot of ashwagandha. I got about 2 pounds sitting in my cupboard. And as a matter of fact, I don't know why I have this sitting over here. I think every live stream I pull this out. But I have ashwagandha randomly sitting right here as well. So, this pu'er tea is amazing. So yeah, I have tons of ashwagandha, and I really love spicy foods. But the nightshades can create that inflammation caused by the alkaloid solanine. Solanine is found in all nightshades, including potatoes. So when it comes to nightshade vegetables and inflammation, I'm going to kind of switch off here, switch topics now. Ask more questions. Everyone in the chat, ask me questions and I'll answer them. But it's very important that people get this pounded into their head. I've been repeating this to so many people over and over again the past couple of months, really. But the solanine and all of these nightshades can trigger the pain, inflammation. And a lot of people are walking around thinking that they need to get surgery. They're taking these really dangerous arthritis drugs for rheumatoid arthritis. They are tumor necrosis factor inhibitors. And for those who don't know, tumor necrosis factor is basically a chemical in your body. It's a function in your body that is at least partially responsible for in the process of neutralizing cancer cells. And so it's a very common side effect of people who take these drugs to get cancer later on. And there were some guys on YouTube that I found that actually turned me on to that. So people think they need these drugs for arthritis, when in reality, they probably have a nightshade intolerance to the solanine alkaloid. And if you want to eat potatoes, but you don't want the inflammation caused by solanine content, what do? Well, you understand that sweet potatoes, yams, purple sweet potatoes, those are not actually potatoes. They're not part of the nightshade family, and therefore you can actually consume yams, sweet potatoes, and these other, pseudo potato type root vegetables as much as you want and not have to worry about the potential of arthritis flaring up. And I know plenty of people who have injuries since I've been working as a strength and conditioning coach and, personal trainer, and I've been around the sports circle and gyms for so long. A lot of these people think that they need surgery on their knees because they've had these injuries all their life and it's not going away. But when I tell them, hey, just try removing nightshades for a couple of days, they think I'm fucking crazy. But what's really interesting is a lot more people actually take my advice than you would expect. So Timothy Jenkins asks, hey man, I did a 1-day fast. I felt amazing. Yeah, so that's great, Timothy. So fasting's awesome because, again, fasting is one of those other protocols that can increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And also, I believe I've seen a couple of studies that suggest fasting can increase norepinephrine in the brain, which can increase your focus. It can increase, obviously, your mood and your energy. And for me, I've done intermittent fasting experiments on and off for a long time. Especially when I was keto adapted all throughout last year, I would fast 21 hours And I would do three sessions of training during that time. But I would drink pre-workout though and caffeine. And I felt on top of the world, but that was 2 months into a ketogenic diet. So I was heavily fat adapted at that point. But my God, I don't think I've ever felt better. And I felt like I had a crazy boost in androgenic hormones, even though that's not scientifically validated. It sure felt like that. And a lot of people claim it's due to the norepinephrine boost. But I felt like I was just jacked up on some kind of anabolic from the intermittent fasting during the keto adaptation time, though. I think it's a whole nother story when you are on a carb-based diet. So fasting is amazing, you guys. Now, if but there's also the potential to fall down a hole of orthorexia, and fasting might not actually be healthy for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people that claim they run into thyroid problems on ketogenic diets and things like that, I think it's because of they're not eating enough calories to sustain their metabolic rate, and their thyroid hormones downregulate to compensate for the lack of energy coming in, so that they don't expend too much energy going out and cause a starvation situation. So you got to watch out with intermittent fasting in that regard. But for most people, they don't experience that, not unless you do crazy fasting long term. And you're like, if you're fit like me or you're thin like me and you're doing long-term intermittent fasting on a regular basis, it's possible that you can run into some problems. But you're talking to someone who trains like 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. So Michael Linton says, how would you treat adult acne? So to be completely honest with you, if you still have acne into your adulthood, there's only a very small selection of possible causes. And I'll tell you time and time again, most people can't seem to wrap their brain around it. But when they finally do, and they just do these recommendations, their acne goes away. So I'm going to put the first one, the less exciting. The less exciting answer is treating adult acne. Treating adult acne would be stop using shitty hygiene products, okay? So if you have acne, you need to buy a seaweed shampoo, seaweed conditioner if you have hair, okay? If you have hair. If you don't have hair, then that's much better. Because number one, you don't have hair in your face all the time, so you could rule out that causing acne. Number two, you don't have to worry about the harsh irritants in the shampoo and conditioner and a lot of products that actually tend to trigger acne in most people. It's actually not necessarily bacteria for many people. It's actually irritation caused by shitty ass hair products that people pay $5 for the premium Suave product or the Paul Mitchell product when it's almost exactly the fucking same as the $1 one you buy from the fucking dollar store. But what I recommend for washing your face, number one, only wash your face once a fucking day. And when you do wash your face, wash it in the bathtub or in the shower, and wash it with seaweed soap. And it has to be the bar soap. Otherwise, I've had good results with coconut soap, but it had to be a specific coconut soap. Maybe I'll make a hygiene video, because I used to have horrible acne, and I think part of it was that I was washing my face too much, and I was using cheap soaps and cheap products that irritated my face, and I didn't have acne, I had inflammation. The second thing, though, is that you could be intolerant to certain foods that you're eating, and this is very common. Like I have family members who insisted that wasn't the case, and I had them try all sorts of face products and things that didn't work. And then when they finally removed the most common ones, dairy and wheat, from their diet, their acne went away. Now, I literally had 1.5 pounds of cheese today, probably more. So I'm not like saying dairy is a devil, but for a lot of people, For a lot of people, you can actually reverse acne if you remove dairy and wheat and other potential food triggers. So Michael Linton, tell me, what is your diet like? Do you consume a wide variety of foods, or do you consume a paleo diet? Do you consume a vegetarian diet? What type of diet do you follow, Michael? Because I can tell you based on what you're eating, how likely it is that your acne is being triggered by a food intolerance. Peanuts are a huge one. Obviously, high omega-6 linoleic acid in your diet can definitely trigger that. Too much sugar. Oh, you just started keto? So if you continue on with keto, you should be eliminating quite a lot of food allergies and food intolerances just by going keto. But keto a lot of times is big on the cheese and the dairy. And so right now, I would say focus entirely on keto adapting. Try the seaweed shampoo or the seaweed soap from the Seaweed Co. That's the brand that I had used originally when I had psoriasis. That stuff didn't inflame my skin anymore and was really good. And pretty much, and every girl that I've dated that I've recommended that to has found amazing results in their hair and their skin. When girls switch to the seaweed shampoo and conditioner, and it's expensive, it's like $12 a bottle, depending where you buy it at. Their hair, it becomes luscious, and they freak the fuck out. Like, wow, my hair was dead before I started using this. I'm so glad I met you, Wolfgang. And then, they get compliments and more compliments on their hair and their Facebook pictures. And when they're out in public, everyone wants to know what they're doing with their hair. And the fact is, it's just they're not killing it anymore with the bullshit products that kill hair follicles, and they also kill the follicles in your face. So your pores, not follicles, your pores in your face. Your pores will be irritated and potentially inflamed a lot more if you're using inflammatory products that are full of bullshit. So try that first. Try the seaweed products first, and then if that doesn't help, remove dairy from your diet, and also nuts and seeds, which can be a big part of keto because that can cause a lot of problems for digestion as well as acne for many people, and they're a very concentrated source of linoleic acid. And so that would be what I would look at. And obviously, if you're not washing your pillowcases over and over again, then the buildup of bacteria on your pillowcase could be causing that. If you sweat a lot, especially low-grade sweating, if you just work in a really hot environment and you don't regularly wipe your sweat with a paper towel, or if you're constantly touching your face over and over again, that could probably cause it. But I don't know, I train so many hours a day and a lot of times don't get a chance to rinse off. And if I do, it's like an hour later because my professor likes to yap his gum. With all due respect, there's a lot of talking involved after jiu-jitsu sessions. So I'm sitting there with sweat drying up on my face. So, and I don't get acne from that. So I think it's a lot more diet involved and irritation from soaps and hygiene products. So let's see. Timothy Jenkins asks, is there any way to reverse wrinkles? So I suppose it depends on the degree of wrinkles. A lot of people believe wrinkles are caused by a deficiency in collagen and nutrients that are used to create collagen, which I don't agree with. I don't believe or disbelieve. I mean, look at a lot of long-term vegans. Absolutely, because they're missing all of the cofactors involved in creating collagen besides vitamin C, if you can even count that as a cofactor. And they're not eating collagen directly from food sources. And they get wrinkles immediately. That's the first thing. I don't know if you guys can see this, but... oh, probably not. Damn it. I'm drinking this amazing pu'er tea, and it is just so dark and delicious. The second thing The second thing about wrinkles, reversing wrinkles, is shea butter. Not shea butter, but cocoa butter, I believe, is really good. And I've heard shea butter is good for wrinkles as well as stretch marks as well. I know quite a few girls have mentioned that to me. Then you have coconut oil, which might be beneficial. So you might want to look into that. Man, now we're getting some really good questions in. So let's see. Is ginger beneficial? So ginger is definitely beneficial. So ginger boosts your circulation. It'll definitely increase your body temperature. It also can act as a diuretic, so be careful if you are drinking ginger tea and then you're peeing all the time and wondering why. That's probably why. Ginger is amazing for stimulating digestive fluids and saliva. And ginger, I've actually seen some surprising evidence that ginger seems to potentially be able to increase testosterone, at least in impotent men. And I find ginger to be a very effective aphrodisiac, increasing sex drive, circulation to the genitals, as well as boosting my brain power and creativity. So I personally really like ginger. I think it's an excellent root to be consuming. And, it's like, it's definitely not like ginseng or anything, right? Ginseng is just such a potent root, but ginger is very powerful for many different systems of the body. And I have a video from like 2015 where I go into deep detail on it, but I'll make a new video probably about ginger. And I'll probably eat like a whole ginger root on that fucking video, just, I don't know, for entertainment. And if I come up with any other benefits of ginger throughout this stream, then I'll definitely just blurt them out. Junior Grande 123 asks, do you drink lemon water in the morning? And the answer to that question is absolutely not. I do not drink lemon water in the morning. I don't really see any reason to drink lemon water in the morning. I know a lot of people do, and they say that it like makes them feel better, and they claim it's because it boosts it alkalizes their body and it hydrates them. There's really not a whole lot of minerals or hydrating properties from lemon. I believe it might technically be isotonic, but there's not a whole lot of minerals in it. Is it a bad thing? No. Is it potentially beneficial? I believe so. I think lemon water is good if you have nausea. Lemon water is good if you don't have access to apple cider vinegar and you're trying to simulate digestion, similar to the drink that I mentioned earlier with apple cider vinegar and ginger and cayenne. And so you can squirt some lemon into a glass of water before meals, and you can use it to stimulate your stomach acid and digestive juices before meals. But in the morning, my morning routine right now consists of 500 milligrams of a rhodiola extract along with about 1 gram of Siberian ginseng powder. And I still haven't found a good consistent morning routine that's been fucking me up, but that's about as consistent as it's been getting lately. Because I got a new job and I got all this other shit going on now. And I removed coffee from my routine because it was inflaming my gums, and I think it was fucking up my teeth for a long time. And so pre-workout was working good for a while. I was, making this awesome like drink with powdered yerba mate and matcha green tea, and that was working amazing as a pre-workout, but just to start my day, and it lasted forever. And I used it before jiu-jitsu, and it was great. But I need to find a new morning routine or morning drink. And yerba mate doesn't seem to work. Tea doesn't, I don't really know. I think black tea with like some heavy cream might actually be a good idea. But I don't know yet. But I definitely don't drink lemon water in the morning. I don't see any point in doing that. Yeah. So Smooth 92, and most of the people that do that, they don't actually read science. Like they don't actually understand how any of that would or wouldn't work. But yeah, as long as you're not taking baking soda, okay? If you start your day with baking soda, now you're just fucking up your digestion and potentially setting yourself up for vitamin deficiencies, and especially deficiencies in methylating factors and methylation, which indirectly could result in a lack of cell turnover, which eventually down the road can actually result in potentially overgrowing cancer cells. So if you don't buy too much into that bullshit alkalizing theory and do that baking soda crap, then you should be okay. So yeah, lemon water is not a bad idea, but it's not really magic either. Smooth 92. Have you used alpha GPC or GDP choline? So that question made me excited. Whoa, I almost fell in this chair. That would have been funny. Yeah, actually, I really do like acetylcholine boosting nootropics. I have used a variety of different cholinergic, is that the way you say it? But choline boosting or choline enhancing nootropics. I've used a variety of them. And my preferred way of boosting acetylcholine production is by taking, so people are probably going to think I'm dumb for this, but just taking generic choline bitterate alongside with inositol and I believe acetyl, was it? Yeah, acetyl, it was acetyl L-carnitine. And I know acetyl L-carnitine has a wide variety of other effects, but it also seems to enhance the functioning of the acetylcholine system. And I took that stack for a while, and I definitely felt an increase in my mood. I felt an increase in my productivity and my ability to focus. And then as far as, alpha GPC, I've taken products that contained it. I used Alpha Brain for a while, and I wonder if maybe that's underdosed. I used one called Brain Juice. And then I also used just a generic alpha GPC stack, but it was so long ago that I don't remember exactly what happened. And it was so expensive, guys. Like, it's so expensive. It only lasted, I paid like $20 for a week's supply. And that's the reason why I try to just settle for, like, that's the reason why I don't really do that as much anymore. Like, because there's other nootropics and herbs that I'd rather invest my money in right now, but I should try that. So Smooth 92, tell me your experience. Have you used alpha GPC or CDP choline? And if you have, how did it affect you? And if you're wondering my opinion on its effectiveness because you haven't tried it, let me know, and I'll maybe try to help steer you in the right direction. Michael Linton says, how long before carbohydrate cravings go away on the keto diet? Usually, so it depends on what type of diet you're following beforehand. For me, when I first started reducing carbs in my diet, it took about 2 weeks. Generally speaking, so there's a variety of processes that need to happen in order for cravings to go away. My God, this pu'er is fucking amazing, you guys. I love pu'er. So give me a sec. Man, so first of all, depends on the type of carbs you're eating. A lot of these carbohydrates, they stimulate dopamine, or they just stimulate your endorphins and your pleasure neurochemistry in such a stimulating way that it's hard to stimulate that through natural means. And so, for example, let me just give you an example to orchestrate this. So my younger brother, when he went on a keto diet, he was on a keto diet for like 6 months and he loved it. He didn't feel hungry. He just felt amazing. Weight loss was effortless. It's very typical amongst most people who do keto. And then when he lost all his weight and he wanted to move on to something else, he asked me about paleo. And so I told him, yeah, try the paleo diet, And he said he was so excited to try a strawberry because he had a feeling since he didn't even do artificial sweeteners or nothing sweet at all. So he completely reset his palate. And when he ate a strawberry again after that long, he said it tasted like a damn Snickers bar. Because when you are stimulating your taste palate with artificial sweeteners, with like especially sugar and refined carbohydrates, over time, this stimulates your pleasure chemicals, and especially your taste palate, let's put it that way, so high for so long that that's your new normal. And now you can eat like a tablespoon of sugar and it doesn't really taste like that exciting anymore because you're numb to it now. Now, if you taste fruit, it's probably not going to be very sweet at all, and you're lucky if you think it is sweet. And that's because natural sugars are just not potent enough to match the same level of stimulation that these refined carbs can give you. And even things like agave nectar and honey and all these other, sources of high glycemic load carbohydrates, these things are so sweet that they're addictive because of the high level of stimulation. And now your bar has been set so high that you can't match it through your allotted amount of low carb berries and stuff like that. So that's the first thing, is that you're overstimulating your taste palate for so long with these carbs that you're literally addicted to these carbs through dopamine, through stimulation of endorphins. And now your dopamine is spiked and making you want to chase this high again, this high of stimulation. That's the first thing. The second thing that happens is you're feeding gut bacteria over and over again. You're feeding gut bacteria. And so basically you have to cut through all the bullshit on gut bacteria to understand what gut bacteria really is about. Gut bacteria, as far as food is concerned, its main priority is to digest the foods you're eating. So for example, when you eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch every fucking day, you're literally feeding microbes in your gut that are designed to feed on Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which means the gluten, gliadin, the starch in the cereal, the sugar, as well as these artificial chemicals as well. They seem to stimulate, the artificial flavors and sweeteners is what I mean. They seem to stimulate a certain type of gut bacteria that feeds on these chemicals or whatever. And so when you remove these foods that feed these microbes, what do you think is going to happen? These microbes are going to starve. And what happens when a child is starving? It freaks the fuck out. It throws a temper tantrum, and it will nag you till you feed it again. And that's exactly what these microbes are doing, guys. Now, this is proven. All the other crap you hear about fucking gut microbiome is not proven. It's not based on facts. There's not enough solid intervention trials to back up these things, other than the fecal matter transplants. Now, that's an interesting one. But most of it's based on correlation. The only thing that's based on solid evidence is the fact that you eat sugar, it creates microbes that feed on sugar, and you remove the sugar from your diet, you starve that microbe. So that will create cravings, is what I'm saying. You take the food away from these microbes, and these motherfuckers are going to beg you for fucking more. So as intense as I made that one sound. Oh my God. So yeah, how long is that going to last? So if you've been eating these foods forever, and if you're eating processed refined sugars, if you're eating all these artificial flavors, so the artificial flavors can actually cure, they can actually kind of like, they can satisfy a sweet tooth craving. That is true. So if you're craving carbohydrates, you could just eat one of the keto treats that have like, erythritol in them or something. You can look up how to make like a keto cake or something. And that can satisfy your carb craving. But honestly, my recommendation is to remove all the sweet things from your diet for a period of time, including artificial sweeteners and flavors. And you're going to feel like a drug addict. And after about 2 to 3 weeks, start to reintroduce them again. You'll probably notice, though, that your cravings go away if you go cold turkey on all of these sweet things, these sweet foods. You won't be craving carbs anymore after about 3 weeks, but you're gonna really crave them at first. The other thing, though, is you can eat more fat. Most people agree on a ketogenic diet if you're craving carbs because you're not eating enough fat. Also, if you're not eating at least 1 gram of protein per adequate or per ideal amount of body weight, you're probably under eating protein on keto, and that can cause carb cravings. So 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight is a good metric to strive for. If you're a male, 2 pounds of red meat a day. A female, 1 pound of red meat a day. That's what I like to recommend. And if you're eating the fatty cuts of meat, you should be getting enough fat alongside it, but you can eat extra suet on the side. And that should help deal with those cravings. Joe Hint, yes, you can recommend a song. Okay, so let's see here. The Korvac asks, is coconut oil beneficial? Coconut oil is definitely beneficial for a multitude of factors, but if we're talking consumption, coconut oil is beneficial for as an antibiotic, neutralizing candida and yeast in the digestive tract. Obviously, the medium chain triglycerides, which are a very small amount if you're talking about a regular coconut oil. They can, bypass like 9 different pathways in the absorption process into the blood and directly be used as energy almost immediately. Many people believe you can actually produce a like artificial ketosis with medium chain triglycerides, even if you have a high carbohydrate intake. So, and I mean, there's a lot of things I'm probably going to miss as far as coconut oil, but I can make another video about that because I think there's a lot of things that people don't know about coconut oil and you won't see in most videos on coconut oil. So let's see. Smooth92 says, I have used CDB choline and it gave me a lot of energy and it improved my focus. And today I just started using alpha GPC. I've had a cool day. I've always had anxiety and just not really excited to do much. Well, Smooth92, please let me know how that goes. Maybe add me on follow me on Instagram and message me about that. I'm really interested in that. Maybe I'll look into people's experiences using some of these choline nootropics, and maybe I'll give that a go because that sounds like something that I am really interested in. And again, I've talked about Dr. Mark Hyman's Ultramind solution, and he talks a lot about choline, acetylcholine, and the functioning of neurotransmitters. And one thing that struck me is that based on his questionnaires, there's a possibility that I might actually be lacking choline. Let's see. Ninjal28 asks, do you believe in leaky gut? Yeah, I do believe in leaky gut. Can I prove it? Not necessarily. But I think the premise of leaky gut makes a lot of sense. More so, the proper terminology is not leaky gut, but it is gut permeability. And I believe that's a very real thing. I oftentimes, I hear the question, why is it that, some of these countries like France and Germany or whatever, they can be eating all the wheat and the grains and all this stuff, and they have been for years, and they don't really seem to experience the same kind of problems that we do here in America when we eat wheat. Some people claim it's because, it's whole grain over there and it's processed over here. That's not true. Absolutely not true. There's something completely different about the wheat itself in these different countries. And so I think the hybridization of American wheat seems to damage the gut barrier or the gut lining for some reason. I think it has to do with the gliadin protein in wheat, not just the gluten, but the gliadin protein as well. And I think that not only the hybridization, which modify the number of chromosomes. But also, I think so probably some of these pesticides and herbicides and things like that might potentially be negatively interacting with the gut lining. But, there's a study by Bruce Ames that I've seen thrown around here and there in the community. And it basically explains that plants produce they produce, what is the word? God damn it. Pesticides and herbicides that are like, 10, 20 times stronger and more potent than these industrialized pesticides and herbicides. And so what that might mean is some people, for whatever reason, they consume certain plant foods, and some of these naturally occurring compounds might break down the gut lining. Or maybe there's no effect from these pesticides and herbicides whatsoever, and it might be something else. So, there's a variety of things that we could talk about as far as leaky gut is concerned, but do I believe in it? Yeah, I do believe in it. But I'm not going to put all my chips in that basket. Most people who have symptoms of what you call leaky gut, they manifest as, not being able to digest certain foods, such as myself with whole grains. And usually antibiotic use, that's a huge one. I think antibiotic use is a huge trigger for gut permeability. And it might even be just the main thing. And it might not actually be leaky gut at all. It might actually have something to do with the gut bacteria being disturbed through different mechanisms. There's a lot of things that could be going on in somebody who thinks they have leaky gut. And let's also keep in mind that there's a multitude of alternative health practitioners who are just straight up trying to get money from people, and they make people who are actually reading health science and all are technically alternative health practitioners look bad. And I think leaky gut can fall in line with that, because there's a lot of really complicated protocols that some of these alternative health practitioners, functional medicine doctors and things try to push onto their patients to heal this leaky gut syndrome. And in reality, they might just be intolerant to gluten or something like that, right? So yeah, that's obviously a nuanced topic. Well, thanks, Joe Hintz, for the song recommendation. So Junior Grande 123 asks, do you track your macros? And the answer to that is yes, but not all the time anymore, and not as meticulously as I did back in the day. So the only reason why I've ever cared. So Smooth92 says the antibiotic Bactrim will damn near kill people. That's interesting, because I was actually on that antibiotic about a year before I developed a lot of my symptoms and problems. So I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so do I track my macros? No. And the only time I ever did track my macros, and again, I do, but it's not as meticulous as it used to be. For a long time, I was tracking macros mostly for health purposes. And, throughout the first, 6 months on a ketogenic diet, I was definitely tracking my macros. When I was training for my first Muay Thai fight back in last year, October of last year, I was tracking my macros. The main reason I will track my macros these days, and it's not just tracking macros, tracking my overall micronutrients as well with chronometer. The main reason is, number one, am I eating enough calories? Am I eating enough protein? And then, am I getting enough micronutrients? And what sources am I getting them from? And so tracking your food is very important, especially if you're trying to, solve some kind of complicated health problem. And it's the first thing I tell people to do. And if I do believe for people, so for me these days, I have a pretty good understanding about, at the very least, how much protein am I getting per day. And based on my protein intake, I have a good idea of how many calories I'm getting. because I choose to get most of my protein from cheese and red meat, I'm getting an adequate supply of calories and fat along with my protein intake. So I know if I get 200 grams of protein from 80% lean ground beef and, Mexican panela cheese, let's just say that, because I ate a lot of that today. I know I'm getting adequate. I know what minerals I'm getting. I know what vitamins I'm getting. I know what protein I'm getting. I know how much calories I'm getting. And that's all I care about. But if I start to feel fucked up, then I will start to track my macros and my micros so that I can, analyze, well, what might be contributing towards my fatigue or whatever. And then I'll look at my nutrition data after a week of tracking and see where I go from there. But most people, they don't have the years of experience that I have. So they don't just like automatically know how much protein they're getting, how much fat, how much calories. They don't know that there's, 1,000 milligrams of potassium per 8 to 16 ounces of lean meat. They don't know that there's about 100 to 200 milligrams of magnesium per pound of red meat. They don't know all that shit intuitively. So it's a good idea for everybody to track. And if you're having health problems, you need to track your food and work with someone who actually knows their shit, which is very rare. So let's see. The antibiotic Bactrim will damn near kill people. Yeah, I was on that antibiotic back in 2011 for a severe staph infection that I had gotten from my tattoos. Junior Grande 123 says there's enough sodium in 1 link of Italian sausage for the whole day. Yeah, well, that depends on what you mean by enough sodium for the whole day. Somebody who's following a low carb or a ketogenic diet, they are going to be losing a lot more than 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day. They need to bump their sodium up to about 5 grams a day minimum, at least as an experiment to see if that helps relieve some of the problems that a lot of people experience. Because over the long term on a low carb diet, people who keep their sodium too low, they tend to be the ones who complain about fatigue, about bowel movement problems, about peeing too often, feeling lethargic and tired, but not being able to sleep, having cramps, having all sorts of weird symptoms because they're not getting the adequate amount of sodium per day. So a sausage link a day for and even the average person, you need a minimum of about 2 grams of sodium per day to survive. And 1 link of Italian sausage, and that's a processed meat, generally speaking, unless you get some high-end stuff. That's probably got maybe, 500 milligrams of sodium, maybe 1 gram of sodium. I don't know. But no, you actually need about 2 grams of sodium per day, most people. And if you feel low energy, you feel dizzy when you stand up, you feel lethargic, you should experiment with consuming at least a teaspoon of sodium per day, right? Or a teaspoon of salt, preferably Redmond's real salt. So does anyone have any more questions? I see there's quite a lot of people in the chat. I'd particularly like some complicated questions if possible. I'd like to answer something complicated and scientific, maybe something philosophical, but really any questions you guys might have. I don't know. I drink all my, I haven't drank all my tea yet. So yeah, ask me something crazy, something real out there, like the meaning of life or something super scientific or philosophical or anything really, anything. Come on, guys, ask me some questions down there. All right, no one's asking me questions. So I see there's quite a few people that are watching. So I'm just going to kind of, oh, wait a second. Oh, no. So have I experienced Kratom? Smooth92 asks. Nope, never tried Kratom. Reason why is because I don't really have a need for it. And it seems like there's a high potential for addiction. So I just don't do it. A lot of people ask me about Kratom and they try to encourage me to take it. I don't see any need to do it, to take Kratom. I don't have any pain issues or anything like that. Most of my needs are satisfied by basic tonic herbs and food. So, healthy diet, good tonic herbs, all I really need. So, but tell me why Kratom's so good. Can anyone answer that question for me? As far as I know, it mainly boosts endorphins, if I'm not mistaken. I really should have done more research on it, but I just don't have any desire to. Yeah, so try the supplement boron and my hair was falling out. About 12 milligrams I was taking. Yeah, I don't know why your hair would be falling out if you're taking boron, but an obvious suspicion could be mineral imbalances of some kind. I don't really buy into this idea that boron is like, if you take an isolated boron supplement, that it's going to boost your testosterone. I also don't buy into this idea that, you need to like focus on consuming enough boron or you're going to like have problems. Like there's people out there like Paul Saladino who I've defended against morons in the past. I think Paul Saladino is great, but some of his ideas are just, I feel like they're gimmicky. Like this idea of consuming enough boron and stuff like that. Look, you need to consume bone meal for calcium, and it has a variety of other things like boron, strontium, and potentially, I think, collagen, maybe, and other factors within bone meal. But I don't think you should just like make a big deal about boron and like, oh, I need my fucking boron every day. So, and that typically, things like hair falling out. Hair falling out typically happens if you have a severe nutrient deficiency. So maybe boron is causing a deficiency, but it can also happen if if you're restricting calories too much for too long. That's like the number one symptom of losing hair, losing periods, getting, hindered thyroid production. No matter what diet you follow, it has nothing to do with carbs or anything like that. So I'd be worried. I'd be looking out for that. Let's see. People keep texting me. Let's see. Is Milk Dizzle worth taking? Junior Grande 123 asks. Yeah, so I've taken Milk Dizzle in the past when I was on a vegan diet because I had suspected that my liver was compromised. I thought my digestive problems, like my grain intolerances, were caused by some kind of liver problem. And so I took Milk Dizzle for quite some time, and I noticed I felt just a lot lighter and less bogged down, if that makes sense. Scientifically speaking, Milk Dizzle, it's got some very impressive evidence pointing towards HEPA protection, so protection of the liver, especially in people who have previous liver damage. It seems to have benefits for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And I believe last time I checked, which is probably like 2 years ago, Milk Dizzle seems to boost glutathione. I don't remember how, but those are some of the main benefits. It's mostly used to boost liver function and for liver dysfunction, as well as people who have trouble with bile and enzymes, digestive enzymes. So, and if you're the type of person that has trouble taking a bowel movement, taking some Milk Dizzle and then some really strong coffee. Like I've actually brewed Milk Dizzle and dandelion loose leaf together with really strong coffee as a way of like doing like a liver cleanse. If you really want to do like a quote unquote liver cleanse, oh my God, make some strong Milk Dizzle and dandelion tea. But but make it in a base of coffee, like super strong coffee. I'm talking like 2 tablespoons per cup or something, like something crazy per serving. And you will experience the craziest liver cleanse of your life as your liver literally your gallbladder flushes bile so aggressively that you shit your pants out. Of course, I'm exaggerating and being dramatic, but yeah, liver's great though. Or not, yeah, liver is great, but milk thizzle's good. But milk thizzle's only good if you have like a liver issue, is what I should be saying here, like hepatitis or something. Milk thistle is probably a good thing, along with like golden seal and garlic for antiviral activity. Milk thistle will be good for something like hepatitis or something like that. Michael Linton asks, do you believe you can reverse heart disease through the ketogenic diet? So that's a really good question that I am excited to answer. So let's see, heart disease. So now let's say somebody who does actually have heart disease, right? Who actually does have heart disease. We have to decide on a metric in which we can measure the reversal, quote unquote, of heart disease, which I would say would probably be the regression of plaques. And so the metric of reversing heart disease would be regression of the plaques in the arteries. Dr. Ford Brewer, MD, definitely give him a subscribe after the stream's over. He has a lot of videos talking about reversing heart disease. And, you know, there's quite a lot of books about it. There's the best one that I've read that's really straight to the point and very thorough and accurate is a book by Johnny Bowden, PhD, and Dr. Sinatra. It's called The Cholesterol Myth, I believe. And it basically talks about the mechanisms and the science behind the cause of heart disease, which is actually inflammation, and how it actually is created over time. And then Chris Masterjohn also has a lot of really good videos on the mechanisms of heart disease. And I think that's probably the best place to go if you want to understand how to reverse heart disease. Asking me, do I believe that a ketogenic diet can reverse heart disease? So I believe if you're consuming fats that are actually healthy, and this is the kicker because there's debate on what actually is a healthy fat, and you're consuming a diet that, honestly, if you're removing linoleic acid and these vegetable oils, you're reducing lipid perioxidation by removing these linoleic acid, and you're replacing it with saturated fats, and you're replacing it with maybe omega-3s. So some people think omega-3s cause heart disease, right? But if you're removing the linoleic acid from your diet and you're removing most high glycemic load carbs and you're eating relatively low carb, and I think combined with intermittent fasting, I think you could probably start to see, you will definitely see a reduction in inflammation, not only through your subjective experience, but typically through markers like HDL and C-reactive protein. But regression of plaques, I think, can be done through a variety of different ways. I think, it's possible that, Dr. Ford Brewer himself, he has claimed he has x-rays where he actually reversed his progression of plaque. He actually caused regression in the plaques in his arteries by switching to a ketogenic diet because he believes that heart disease is a result of insulin resistance. And so he reverses insulin resistance through low carb eating and taking metformin. And then he has x-rays that proved over time his plaque actually regressed. And then he has interviews with patients where they said the same thing. Ketogenic diets, they, for whatever reason, tend to produce a coronary artery calcium score of 0. And so, for a long time, even vegan doctors, like the president of the American College of Cardiology, Dr. Caldwell Williams, or whatever his name was, he was saying for a long time that coronary artery calcium scans, or CAC scans, are the golden standard, that they're the golden standard in heart disease prediction, and not only prediction in risk, but prediction in the progression or the degree of heart disease. And so it's weird that people who are eating a ketogenic diet have a CAC scan of score of zero, and that's consistent. And there's been people who had CAC scores of 300 and above, which are pretty deadly. And they went on a ketogenic diet, and that CAC score, when they got retested, went down to 0. So that says that they reverse, or they cause regression in calcified plaques in the coronary artery based on that scan. Now obviously there's quite a lot of people who argue, and they say that coronary artery calcium scans are only good for measuring calcium plaques, but not soft plaques. And so they say, oh, you keto people might have coronary artery calcium scans of 0. But what about your soft plaques in your artery? You need to take you need to do like a radiation test in your vein or whatever. One of those internal x-rays of the artery in order to determine whether you have soft plaques or not. So what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of evidence that actually suggests it's possible that ketogenic diets might actually cause regression of plaques. And I can tell you from what I'm seeing, coronary artery calcium goes down on ketogenic diets for whatever reason. And that's independent of how much linoleic acid someone's consuming. People that consume a lot of bacon and things like that are consuming quite a lot of linoleic acid, but they have these scans that show 0 coronary artery calcium. Then you have people who actually have x-rays of regression. So that's pretty substantial if you ask me. Now, does that mean that ketogenic diets are like the cure for heart disease? Now, that's a stretch, and I don't think so. I think as long as you are not insulin resistant, or if you do have insulin resistance or you have heart disease, something that can reduce inflammation and can also reduce your coronary artery calcium score and reverse insulin resistance, I think that will at the very least improve your chances of reversing heart disease. I think intermittent fasting is great because at the very least, you're not going to be consuming anything that could potentially, increase, inflammation in the arteries. So, and then of course, there's this idea of autophagy and things like that. So, yeah, that's a really strung out answer, but it's nuanced. So I wouldn't tell someone like, yeah, ketogenic diet will cure heart disease or it will prevent heart disease. But I do strongly believe low carb diets and controlling insulin and just controlling inflammation in general, that's probably the ticket. And so for further, if you really want to know though for yourself, I recommend Chris Masterjohn and his amazing lectures. He's got a whole college course on the antioxidant system and heart disease and lipid perioxidation. And those things sound very valid. It describes antioxidants' role in, damage to the artery wall and PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, and their involvement in heart disease, as well as antioxidants and their involvement in PUFAs potentiating heart disease. So Chris Masterjohn, his lectures are great. Ford Brewer actually has clinical evidence of causing regression. And then, of course, there was one guy a long time ago, back in 2004, who actually was talking, he had x-rays and things of him reversing his heart disease. And he claimed that it was the vitamin K2. And he was one of the ones who people used as evidence, claiming that it's all the K2 and the animal fat they are eating that's reversing the calcium. I don't know about that, but there are people out there who claim that. So don't remember that guy's name though. But Ford Brewer is another good one. And then of course you have the Fat Emperor. Forgot that guy's name. Hey, Bright Path, go ahead and ask me your questions. Everyone ask me your questions. Junior Grande 123 asks, what is good for the kidneys? I'll tell you what's good for the kidneys. Don't eat sugar. Significantly reduce the amount of low glycemic load carbohydrates in your diet. Remove all, try to reduce prescription medications, pharmaceutical drugs of all kinds. Try to find a health practitioner who's willing to get you off those medications using nutrition. Because those can, especially if you're on diuretic drugs and things like that. If you have bad kidneys, then, take precaution, as things like caffeine, diuretic medications, and even things like dandelion root and some of these herbs that have a diuretic effect might harm your kidneys. Maybe limit oxalates, or just cook your green vegetables to, reduce them, I suppose. But overall, eating a nutritious diet, that's what's good for your kidneys. Supplements, they're not necessary generally, unless you have kidney damage. That's a delicate topic that requires significant protocol. But if you don't have any actual diagnosed kidney disease, then eat a healthy diet. And I would say, the baseline level of healthy diet that's probably going to solve most people's health problems is The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. Or, even more restrictive, but even better, would be Lauren Cordain's version of the paleo diet. But make sure you get enough salt every day. Okay. Because if you don't get enough salt, then that's going to put the kidneys under stress, because they're going to have trouble retaining minerals and water due to imbalances in aldosterone and diuretics, antidiuretic hormone. Bright Path asks, what's your opinion on 1 meal a day or 24 for building muscle? So I've experimented tremendously with 1 meal a day, and I trained vigorously. I've been an athlete and strength and conditioning coach for a long time. I can tell you, if your goal is to build muscle, my opinion on 1 meal a day and 24 fasting is there is zero magical benefits that you will find from this fasting protocol. Now, actually, I'll take that back. I mentioned before when I was fat adapted. So when I was doing keto, and I was about 2 months keto adapted, probably actually 3 months at that point. Back in February of 2019, I was probably about 3 months into ketosis, and I was fasting 21 hours a day, and I was training 3 times within that window. So I would wake up, I would go and I would lift, I would max out on snatches, squats, and deadlifts, and then I would go spar, or do some running or something. And then later in the day, I would either lift weights again, or I'd do interval bag work. So super hardcore interval training on the heavy bag, 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. So super intense stuff. And I was doing that during fasting. But I don't think that that's a good idea for athletes. I don't think it's a good idea, not unless it just works for your work schedule. Because I know some people I have friends that work in law enforcement, for example, and they don't get much sleep. They don't get a lot of breaks, depending on what they do. Some of them, their whole shift, they're able to eat, but they have such a hectic schedule. They hardly sleep, they hardly eat, and I don't know how the fuck they still survive. Now, rest assured, those guys lose a lot of weight doing that, because they're training so hard during MMA. They're not eating, and they're just beating themselves on the ground. But I don't think that type of lifestyle is healthy long term. Now, anyway, the thing is, for muscle, what do you need? You need amino acids. Then you need enough calories to sustain your energy level at least. If you're doing intermittent fasting and you're not tracking your protein intake and you're not tracking your calories, then you're fucked. Because the main thing that you're going to need for muscle growth at the very least is adequate protein. And if your protein is coming from fatty meat and you're getting at least 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight or lean mass, then you'll be getting enough calories. But most people, they can't even get enough protein in on a regular eating schedule. And then if you were doing 1 meal a day, how the fuck are you gonna get 2 pounds of red meat in that 1 meal a day? But the main thing though is that if you're training hard, and I hope you're training hard, hope you're not following any of these wimpy programs that you see floating around. If you're training hard, you need to be eating in order to sustain that caloric output. And so what I mean is, so you may not find this at first, but over time, as you continue to train hard, we have something in exercise science called fatigue management and systemic fatigue, right? Or more so, neural fatigue. Neural fatigue will build up from hard training. And if you're doing 1 meal a day, and you're not consuming enough calories, especially around your workouts, you'll find that neural fatigue will grow and grow and grow over the weeks. You might have to cut your workouts back because of the amount of neural fatigue that's being caused by not giving your body, let's just say, comfort of the food, right? And then the discomfort of the training. Hormesis is a very real thing, but I think if you're training super vigorously, there's a potential that you're going to have thyroid problems over the long term. If you eat enough calories though, or if you eat in a caloric surplus during that 1 meal a day, then it's possible you might never run into any problems at all. So the big deal here is caloric intake. Get enough protein, get enough calories. Do not guess it. It's just going to make shit hard, really. As far as all that's concerned, it's very complicated, and it requires, truly understanding, truly being honest with yourself about how fatigued you feel from those crazy workouts and how that 1 meal a day is affecting you. Now, again, I did 1 meal a day for like a month. And when I'm fat adapted, I felt like I had a boost in androgenic hormones, but I was also taking a lot of caffeine during that time. I just felt jacked up. It was amazing. So it's possible that you adapt to it and, you experience the benefits everyone talks about. But I was fat adapted. I was 3 months in ketosis when I did that. I don't recommend it for building muscle though. I don't see the point. Sorry, I rambled on so much about this. I'm pretty tea drunk from this goddamn pu'er tea, which is so good. Mr. Brightpath, please tell me, why in the world would you want to do 1 meal a day or 24 for building muscle? Now, I asked that question so that I know your intention, not necessarily because it's like a dumb idea, so to speak. I'm not like those guys who are like, oh, 1 meal a day, it's a fad. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. 1 meal a day and fasting, it does have some significant effects on your physiology. It's just, if your intention is to build muscle and feel good, and you don't have health problems or anything like that, I don't understand why someone would, intend every day to do such a thing. Oh, well, that's good. But why exactly are you doing 1 meal a day or fasting? People say, yeah, there's this idea that, so here's the thing. Here's the reason why I don't like freak out about 1 meal a day. You know, for one, I'm open-minded and I've tried it. The second thing is you don't actually need to time your protein in this weird, like every 2 hours eat this much protein for muscle protein synthesis. You don't actually need that. So there's a variety of experts that have talked about this, and there's a lot of studies that show a similar thing. So at the very least, we know for a fact, it doesn't matter when you eat your protein, and it doesn't matter how much you eat in one sitting. Like there's some people who say you can only digest a certain amount of protein at once. It's bullshit. I had some guy at GNC tell me that if I eat too much protein, I'll piss it out. Or if I eat too much protein in one sitting, that it'll turn to fat. Like if I eat over 30 grams of protein, it'll turn to fat, like in one sitting. Like it's bullshit. None of that shit is true. What actually happens is your body will store, like basically you eat, let's say your whole fucking day's worth of protein in one sitting. Let's say 2 pounds of red meat, right? What happens is your body can only absorb a certain amount at once, but your body will slowly release the amino acids over time, and you'll get a steady supply of amino acids over the next 24 to 48 hours from that 1 meal. So your body does have a cutoff where you can only absorb a certain amount at once, but it doesn't just waste the protein. It actually stores it for later, and over time your body actually uses it progressively. So Bright Path, are you overweight? Do you have a high body fat percentage? Like, do you have excess body fat? Is that what's going on? And just for the record, I generally will eat 1 pound. I generally eat 1 pound of red meat twice a day. So I don't really have any trouble like building muscle or recovering from exercise. So I think this protein timing thing is bullshit. If you're between 10 to 15% body fat, why are you trying to control your hunger? I don't understand. If you have annoying thoughts about food, you're saying compared to longer fasts. Yeah, I just don't. If you're saying, so are you saying it's easier on your work schedule? Like it's easier for your lifestyle? Like you're not trying to restrict food intake for body fat, are you? To stay lean or something. You're saying that it's easier on your schedule because you're like busy throughout the day. If that's what you're saying, I understand. I totally understand if like you have a super busy work schedule and it's just easier to stuff your face like 1 meal a day, because I fucking have that, and that is the main reason why I like 1 meal a day. It's because I could just stuff my face before I go to bed, and I don't have to have that feeling like there's like a bunch of food in my stomach while I'm out training. That was the main benefit of like intermittent fasting, like 21-hour fast and training while during the fast. Bulking on 1 meal a day. Yeah, so if you're, nothing to do with losing weight. Yeah, so if it has to do with your schedule, I mean, I'm definitely down with that. So one of my clients says that his dog is dying, and so he's not able to train. That actually sucks really bad for him, really. And I'm really sorry about that, I guess. All right, you guys. So I'm going to give you all another 2 minutes. Another 2 minutes to ask me your questions before I log off and, read my Squat Everyday book. You know, I'm almost done reading Squat Every Day again. Yeah, intermittent fasting. So guys, ask me more questions in the comments, or else I'm gonna probably get off. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, intermittent fasting makes me feel better throughout the day as well. Like, it's really just, you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, it boosts norepinephrine. Like, so I forgot to mention when I was doing intermittent fasting earlier this year. I remember when I hit the 17-hour mark, my vision improved dramatically. Like, I remember being able to read license plates. I remember being able to read license plates from super far away, despite, you know, being diagnosed with needing glasses or whatever. My vision dramatically improved, which I found fascinating. So have I ever tried strongman training? So yeah, you know, I trained at quite a few strongman gyms here in my area for a while, and a lot of my friends have done strongman competitions and things like that. I've dabbled with strongman training. You know, obviously everyone's flipped tires, and I actually flip the tire the right way. So, like, you know, at a commercial gym where they actually have tires, a lot of people they fucking try deadlifting tires, when in reality you're not supposed to be like squatting down to sumo deadlift the tire. You're supposed to get your shoulders up into the tire, and then basically your whole body, like a football huddle, is supposed to be pushed into the tire, and you're supposed to be parallel with the ground rather than squatting it up using your back and your legs. You're using your entire body to almost like you cup it, you hug the tire, push it up over, like you're driving that shit forward. And so I've obviously flipped shit tons of tires. I've trained clients to flip tires. You know, I've done Atlas stones. That was fun. I've actually done Atlas stones at a commercial gym once because a trainer brought a bunch of them in for like a boot camp he was doing. And that was a lot of fun. You know, I've done shit tons of farmers carries. Obviously the sled drags and sled sprints and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of all of that, but I use it not for, like, you know, muscle gain or anything like that, or for strongman competition. The reason why I use that is obviously for sports conditioning. And I never really saw so I've been doing like vigorous interval training and circuits with weights and all sorts of highly glycotic conditioning training for a very long time. And a lot of that came from like sled sprints and farmers carries and stuff, and circuits with, like, you know, high rep heavy deadlifts, combining that with, you know, burpees and crazy bullshit like that, which is CrossFit bullshit. But doing all of that stuff mainly for MMA conditioning. I never saw a carryover into kickboxing, other than being able to, you know, explode. All the girls like it when I explode. But with jiu-jitsu, though, I see an amazing carryover. From all the conditioning I've ever done, it directly carries over into jiu-jitsu. So I can tell you, these people who say, oh, you know, CrossFit might make you get in a really good shape, but it won't prepare you for jiu-jitsu. That's a fucking lie. It definitely will prepare you for jiu-jitsu, at least as far as conditioning is concerned. So Gordon Ramsay entered the chat, and he says, where's the damn lamb sauce? And then Lamb Sauce enters the chat and says, hi, Gordon. Okay. You guys are fucked up, man. It's too late for this crazy nonsense. Yeah, strongman training is good. Have you tried strongman training, Bright Path? So the Corvac asks, what's the best way to improve eye vision? I have quite a few videos on that. Definitely check them out. Search up my channel name and then myopia, or my channel name and then vision. But I'll tell you the best way to improve vision is, I forgot what the technique's called, but basically the first thing is to train your eyes like a muscle. A lot of nearsightedness and vision problems are caused by people staring at close range objects for too long, too often, on a regular basis. And what happens is you train your eyes to only be able to focus on nearsighted objects. What do you think is going to happen if all you do is stare at nearsighted objects over time? Well, through the principle of specificity and general adaptation syndrome, over time, your eyes are they're going to get better and better at staring at the short-term objects. So what you need to start doing is, if you want to be able to see far-sighted, start to stare at more far-sighted objects. And, over time, you'll see those benefits. And that's probably the best and most effective and popular option. Another one is eating more liver so that you can get more vitamin A in your diet, so liver, obviously, that plays a significant role. Maybe get more like anaxathin. How do you say that? Anaxathin. It's like fucking an antioxidant that's found in salmon. Pigments that are found in blueberries and things like that. People claim that those are supposed to boost vision, but I haven't seen any substantial evidence for that to be the case. I think intermittent fasting you might want to try, because I definitely noticed an extreme boost in my vision doing that. If you were wearing glasses, you're pretty much fucking yourself in the eyeballs, because glasses essentially are training your eyes to only focus on nearsightedness. They basically make myopia worse, because you have this set of glass, like these windows that are right there on your eyes, sitting there all times. And so your eyes are being trained to focus through these windows sitting on your eyes. So you're causing nearsightedness by, let's say, staring at the computer screen with your face right here all day. Your eyes get adapted to focusing on this nearsighted object. Now I put windows on my eyes. Well, guess what? Now my eyes are going to adapt to focus through these damn glasses, which will make it even worse. And that's typically why people progressively need stronger and stronger glasses prescriptions over time, because these glasses are, number one, sitting right there on their eyes, training their eyes to be nearsighted. And number two, they're also making it a lot easier for your eyes to see things. So the muscles start to get weaker that would normally be used for farsightedness. And then also you're causing a lot of strain. And removing artificial lighting is a good idea. And, trying not to strain your eyes on a regular basis. So, let's see here. I like power. See, I see athleticism. I see athleticism as, so to build athleticism, you need a strong foundation in strength. And to get a strong foundation in strength, you need powerlifting. But as a sport, I could definitely see strongman as being more athletic than powerlifting. But, for me, I do jujitsu, I do Muay Thai. And I'm going to start the Bulgarian method tomorrow. I'm planning on starting my own version of the squat every day program. I'm going to be squatting to a max every day. I'm going to be doing like 3.5 hours of jiu-jitsu every night. I'm going to be training clients for 6 hours a day. And I'm going to be like squatting to a max multiple times while I'm at the gym in between clients. And so, I don't know. I think that's pretty athletic if you ask me. But you guys, it's so late. I'm like super buzzed off this pu'er tea. And I feel like my brain is, so relaxed that I'm having trouble. I'm like stumbling over my own words and shit. Definitely try drinking pu'er tea if you never have. It's fucking amazing. It's my favorite tea, really. Yeah, so you guys, I'm gonna get off. If you guys have any other questions for me, look, again, just so everyone knows, I am offering consultations through Skype and Google Hangouts and things like that, and I charge $20 donation per hour. So definitely hit me up if that's something you're interested in. And leave your questions and comments. Either send them to me through Instagram or something. If you want me to make a video, I'll do my best to do so, despite me being so busy. And yeah, I really enjoyed this live stream. I definitely got to get to bed. I didn't even sleep at all last night, and I did a hard security shift this morning. So, and I've just been, I've been feeling pretty good all day. But yeah. All right, y'all. Have a good fucking night. Let's see.